Welcome to this lecture on implementing mindfulness into your centre. The series of lectures on implementing mindfulness into your centre is delivered in numerous lectures throughout the course. In these lectures, I introduce you to the 10-week mindfulness-based creative play program that has been provided for you as a way of scaffolding your ability to deliver mindfulness and meditation to the children. And I do this through showing you how the 10-week program integrates the early years learning framework. And of course, I also show you other ways of integrating mindfulness into the centre. An important part of designing this course was to ensure that you weren't simply adding another thing to do to your endless list of things to do as a teacher, but rather your teaching methods are adapted to include teaching mindfulness and meditation skills to the children, while still incorporating the guidelines of the early years learning framework. The 10-week program that I've designed for you to deliver to the children has been designed to also help you further conceptualize how the early years learning framework can interconnect with mindfulness and meditation training sessions to create creative and enjoyable programs. You'll find a copy of the 10-week mindfulness-based creative play program within the Teachers Forum on the website. And if you have any problems, simply email me and I'll send you out a copy of the program. Okay, so the 10-week mindfulness-based creative play program was created for you as part of this course because several teachers have contacted me asking for additional help after saying they've already attained mindfulness training elsewhere but said they still felt lost when it comes to actually incorporating mindfulness or meditation into their daily program. As such, the program has been provided as a way of scaffolding teachers' learning while also providing a working model for further planning. I've tried to deliver the program in an easy-to-read format with simple instructions, and as such, I've placed all the scripts and additional material at the end of the program. The scripts are only intended to be a guideline for you to teach from, rather than a word-for-word narration. And since we keep the mindfulness sessions very short for this age group, it's really not going to be hard to master at all. Additionally, I have compiled a separate document for the weekly craft activities. I felt this was the best way to deliver the program to you since the craft activities include instructions and several photos to help guide you through the activities, and I didn't want the actual 10-week program to be too large a document to print out. And the craft document is also available in the forums for downloading. Okay, so before we unpack the program, let's just have a look at the early years learning framework as set out in the National Quality Standards. The aim of the development of the early years learning framework was to ensure that young Australians receive quality education programs in early childhood settings. And this was to ensure they become successful learners, confident and creative individuals, and active and informed citizens. According to the early years learning framework, the dynamics of learning for children is complex and holistic, in which physical, social, emotional, personal, spiritual, creative, cognitive, and linguistic areas of learning are all interwoven and interrelated to promote the basic foundations of the successful young learner, which also acknowledges the child's involvement and disposition. And all of these aspects should also be conceptualized through the concept of being, belonging, and becoming. It is clear that the early years learning framework provides the guidelines for teachers to focus on a child's overall well-being. And since we know the latest research into well-being has demonstrated that the use of mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools for maintaining or improving well-being, it makes sense for teachers to deliver programs that combine the early years learning framework with mindfulness-based programs. The idea behind giving you a mindfulness-based creative play program to teach the children is twofold. Firstly, I want you to easily conceptualize how you can take a creative learning program and simply add one or two mindful training sessions or meditation sessions to really enrich that program. Secondly, I don't want to persuade you of how the early years learning framework interacts with mindfulness and meditation within creative programs, but instead I want you to conceptualize for yourself through your own critical observations as you implement the 10-week program into your center. And of course, by the end of delivering the 10-week course, you should be able to create something very similar for yourself, just using the program as a framework. And in saying that, I'll also continue to provide mindfulness-based creative play programs for you to deliver to the children. So keep checking back with the forum and keep up to date with what's happening in there. It's my hope that however you're documenting your child's progress, written reports, Word, Excel, StoryPark, I want you to easily identify which parts of the early learning framework have been incorporated into each week's session. So just to help that process, I have added a few tags from the early years learning framework to the end of each week's session. Okay, so let's unpack the program. Of course, it includes mindfulness and meditation exercises, such as mindful breathing, mindful eating, spidey senses, sending loving wishes, loving kindness exercises, and gratitude exercises. The program is all about bees and honey. There's a focus on our ability to have a positive effect in nature while also understanding the various ways that we interact with nature through educating the children on the world of bees. The program is overlaid with a 10-week flourishing program. Utilizing the latest research on well-being, along with a few prominent theories, I created a list of 10 well-being focus points, and I have embraced them and developed them into workable weekly discussion points. These 10 well-being focus points are positive emotion, engagement, interest, meaning, purpose, autonomy, competency, relatedness, positive relationships, and accomplishment. There's also a parent resource for the 10-week wellbeing program in the home. Okay, so this part of the program simply reinforces the wellbeing focus points to create flourishing within the home and to give parents just a very easy parenting course. There's also games and craft. Each week the children will play a game and also complete a craft that will be based on what they've been learning that week. The weekly craft items can then be used to create a wall mural, and the creation of the wall mural is designed to help the children not only remember but easily recall what they've been learning over the 10-week period. It's just a way to consolidate their learning. So as you can see, the program is quite intensive in its creation. However, as I mentioned, I have laid it out in a way that's easy to understand and apply each week. And just to emphasize again, by keeping those mindful moments and meditation short and interconnected into each session, it doesn't become boring or difficult for the children to practice and, most importantly, to enjoy and eventually master. By making the meditations relative to each session, the children become confident learners on a much deeper interconnecting level with their own teachers in their natural environment. I know many teachers feel nervous teaching mindfulness to children or teaching them meditation. Please just stay with it, develop your own practice, continue to meditate for yourself, and you will get better and you will be a better teacher. You know this, and it will be great for you and your well-being. Please don't sit them in front of a recording. It's all right to sit them in front of a recording if it's rest time, or if you're doing it with them one on one. That's okay. But to simply sit a group of children in front of recordings and leave them there is absolutely counterproductive, and children lose interest and don't want to be involved in it. If this is still happening to them by the time they get to primary school, they end up being conditioned to just sit there and be bored and daydream and just habituate to even listening. So please understand, other than rest time or one-on-ones, the recordings have very little effect on children, and in fact can have a negative impact on children. And this is probably also why research is finding that by the time they're teenagers, they're very critical of mindfulness as a way of improving well-being. So please understand how important it is for you to teach them yourself and for you to practice with them, because your own practice is also a great way to maintain your mood and your well-being. And for those of you who are feeling a little nervous, I'm sure it won't be long before you feel not only confident, but you're able to mix and match the various mindfulness and meditation scripts to suit your needs for reporting your critical reflections on the child's development. Okay, so that's a wrap for this lecture, and please remember to have a look through the additional support material for understanding this week's lecture. I've put some good links there on the early years learning framework and the 7 quality areas and ways of planning and documenting.